right, guys. So today what we're going to be going over is kind of a testament, as he had said, of the unique processes that I've been through in the digital age that we now live in with social media, algorithms, artificial intelligence. Whether you're using AI, as you'll find in this presentation, AI is already using you. And it's important that we understand what AI is, what social media actually is, what algorithms enable, and the psychology behind why consumers make certain decisions. So this is valuable for any of you guys who have a company or are trying to start a company, or someone like me who kind of had a company while I was in the entrepreneurship program, and then I went on the internet, as you'll see, and then my whole entire company changed from feedback loops that came to me as outputs of putting myself out there online. So a lot of challenges came with this. As you can imagine, like imposter syndrome, Daniel Caesar following you and liking you on and saving your videos, your heroes, meeting them, getting them to follow you, and what enables this entire architecture, because social media has changed, it's different. So my goal here today is to explain to you that social media is not social, and the algorithm essentially has rewritten its own rules while you guys were all in class. So I'm also the founder of an online community called llmacademy.com. I have over 200,000 followers combined on social media on TikTok and Instagram, all organic. I've never ran a single paid ad. I'm also an alumni of Entrepreneurship program before I decided that I wanted to drop out. And I'm also chronically online and a Gen Z founder. So that is what we'll be going over today. So when we go over this, you guys are welcome and encouraged to question the theories that I present today throughout this presentation. We're going to be diving into real-world insights, like the literal today, current reality, not 2015 textbook theory of marketing. We're also going to be talking about how to position yourself in a high-demand market, or even how to become the market itself. We're also going to go over consumer behavior and exposing how algorithms create behavior. And we're also going to be, every part of this is going to have an actionable step that's going to allow you to do something immediately after watching this. So this is the hero's journey. And so this presentation, what you'll also realize, is a form of marketing itself. So I want you guys to also understand the engineering behind this own presentation as a form of marketing. So the hero's journey is essentially a story, so a form of storytelling, where a character goes through conflict, is a victim of something, and ends up essentially overcoming a challenge. And this conflict creates emotion from consumers when communicated properly. So this is what every marketer will start off by telling you, is that there's something called the hero's journey. And this is what you communicate to people, whether you have a tech company, any kind of company. There's a storytelling aspect to it of the hero's journey. And so let's go through my hero's journey. So as a sophomore, let's start off with, I was a freshman, came into school during COVID. I was doing poli-sci. I thought I wanted to do poli-sci. COVID happened, no longer go to class, and I joined a fraternity, Beta Theta Pi, and all of a sudden I want to be a finance bro. So this is around the same time cryptocurrency came out. This is my first kind of realization of the future of technology. So I started the Cryptocurrency Club with Michael Jones, a great professor, and members themselves of Beta Theta Pi fraternity, as I realized that this was an emerging market, and I found a deep interest in technology and digital assets through this, and that's kind of what started my journey here on campus. And so during the summer of my sophomore year, I decided to get an internship as an operations analyst at a blockchain startup. At this blockchain startup, I realized how startups work, and I realized a lot of inefficiencies within startups. And surprisingly enough, things I was doing, AI now can do. And so at this point, I was even trying to trade crypto during working there, and also explored foreign exchange markets like Forex. But I ultimately quit 3 months in to start my own business from a TikTok that I saw, which is really important. is that I saw a TikTok that solved a problem in the company I was working for, and I decided to essentially pursue a business model that I saw on TikTok. And so then going into my junior year, I started a side hustle. This is a side hustle to me. This was not a business. This was not necessarily a company. I didn't view it as one because I was trying to make additional money on the side. And so I essentially was able to start helping local businesses and even students through the Entrepreneurship program building infrastructure online, whether it was websites, automations, CRM, forms of technology to help companies essentially build their online presence. And so my first client was my next door neighbor, and my second client was the Center for Entrepreneurship. And there's something that really stuck with me from Jane Walton. If you guys know Jane Walton, was when he saw what I was doing and he saw the work that I was putting in, he said that this will inevitably continue to work, and you will have to make decisions that are going to be very difficult. And as we'll see, that was exactly true. All right, so junior year, this is my room on Rose Street. So this is right after that, and what happened was I was faced with immediate friction from family and friends, which led me to isolate myself. And I started, instead of expressing my interests to my fraternity and to my people I was living with that didn't understand this new side of technology and digital world of internet money, I started making videos to share the work that I was doing. And I literally had the intent of sharing the videos, not even to get clients to do anything, but literally just to make videos to share and express myself. And I was laughed at by people in my fraternity. If you look at these videos 3 years ago, I was whispering in them. I was not confident in what I was doing. And I was social chairman in the fraternity, and people thought my social medias were hacked. They didn't understand what was going on with me. So I was stuck conforming in an environment that no longer served me. And this is also at the same time where my first ever video got 200,000 organic views overnight. And I realized that I could do really crazy things online. So what happened on exactly New Year's Day, I took a gap year. The night that New Year's Eve fireworks, everyone was out partying, I was sitting in that room, and I was on a Zoom call with somebody who told me to drop out of school and to leave everything. And I did. I sat in front of my entire fraternity as a social chairman who was supposed to be planning the entire formal and all the parties, who was leading the cryptocurrency club, who was involved heavily on campus. And I decided to completely drop everything that was not related to my goal. And I moved downtown in Cincinnati without even finding a sublet to my room, which was $650 a month, with only $20,000 saved, with the idea of if I hit $10,000 a month, I'm not going back. So during this gap year, this is what I call the internet effect. I managed to make $10,000 on a 60-minute call from a TikTok that replaced 20 individual small business clients that I was begging to pay me $97 a month for. This is what you call high-ticket remote sales. And this was a moment for me, as you could see, that makes you rethink everything, right? 12 months of building websites for local restaurants that didn't care to grow versus a TikTok making $10,000 in 60 minutes. So here's the exact revenue chart from this exact process of June 2022 to October 2023 for full transparency. As you see right here, I hit essentially $10,000 a month in 5 months. And my first client, as I told you, was right here. And then this is as I was working with the Entrepreneurship program. Around right here is when essentially I started realizing that I had a safety net from my clients and from the Entrepreneurship program. I could take a lot of risk. And this was pre-internet era still. And I managed to make $10,000 a month as a student here with all my involvement, even pre-internet era, outside of helping companies get on the internet, right? So At this point, I realized that I could make $10,000 a month, but I was doing it locally, and I knew there was a cap. So around this time, that's when I decided my grades started going down. I couldn't participate, I couldn't plan things, but I knew that I was making videos, and I hit that first 200,000 view video, so I decided to drop out. And actually what happened when I dropped out is the exact kind of opposite, because I was stepping into a new digital way of selling where I could no longer service small business owners and clients that were expecting so much out of me for so little work when I would make $10,000 on a single call from a TikTok video. So I actually had to fire all of my clients, which was really hard. And what happened was when I did this, I then changed my offer from the feedback of the niche that I had created through the content that I was producing that was driving a demand for calls on my calendar, which led to the $10,000 I made in 60 minutes. So what I did was I then productized the service itself, and this was what you would refer to as a case study. This individual was a case study for me to prove a combination of services that would help him achieve a desired result. And then I could package that once proven into messaging that communicated to other people online how I could help them. When I changed my offer, this is where everything started changing, and I was able to master the art of getting attention online and also converting attention. So as you see here, in 1 year, I managed to get all the way up to before I was deemed high risk for processing too many transactions too fast on Stripe, before I had to switch to a payment processor, $25,000 in a single month, online, with no clients in Cincinnati. So when I dropped out, the first thing I did is I spent everything that I had on a mastermind with 8 to 9 figure online entrepreneurs. And this was my first time being the smallest fish in the environment that I was stepping into now. This right here is Tim Ferriss. If you know who Tim Ferriss is, he wrote 4-Hour Workweek. He's one of the best marketers of our time. He's worth over $100 million. This guy over here is worth over $300 million. This guy was worth over $10 million. This guy is worth $5 million. And this guy, his dad builds essentially the buildings that Lamborghini, like his dad literally builds the buildings that all the Lamborghinis are in. He's worth $50 million. Me, I was worth $20,000 in this group. And this mastermind, 3 days in Costa Rica, cost me $15,000. And I missed my flight on day 1 and day 2. And what I realized was around these group of people that I was around, that there was something different. The people I looked up to that were like course gurus and all this, like I had new heroes at this point. And I was around better people. So I realized that freelancing as an internet marketer, even with followers and attention, does not equal leverage, because it was solely tied to my ability to perform and put the hours in. And so I needed to consolidate my intellectual property that I was building for mass consumption, and the market loved it. So I decided to start documenting everything that I was doing to solve these problems, because I knew that I needed to gain leverage, and the only way to do that was through productizing my intellectual property into a format that others could consume independently, okay? And then right here, I then upgraded my lifestyle. I realized the impact of perception and the variable of something we call status delta, essentially forcing myself to make more money by being the one who makes more money, right? So I started increasing my expenses and living the life that I wanted to become. And it put extra stress on me, right? But it also allowed for better videos, better background, better high-ticket closes, right? So I realized that there is an element as well of perception. So then I also traveled the world to understand culture and meet people along the way through social media that I impacted through my content, to realize that there was actually real value in the internet and what I was helping people with, and obviously to build more perception. I also went to Japan and culture shocked myself on a solo trip and understood that geography was now optional when you had time freedom and a laptop. I did the whole Dubai influencer thing, and surprisingly sold the most while doing nothing, and started to understand consumer psychology and the dynamic behind parasocial relationships. Important word, parasocial. And the combination of this then led to me speaking the same software that I essentially sold to university or was contracted to help students build on top of, as well as help local businesses with. Like the thing that kind of like built my initial intro to entrepreneurship. I was then able to speak at the Go High Level Summit 2024 in front of thousands of people due to a connection I had made through that journey, who was the #1 affiliate for Go High Level, and then I recognized the true impact of what I had achieved through content on the internet. And at this point, you can imagine imposter syndrome is at an all-time high because I'm still a human being like all of you guys. And so here we are today with 165,000 followers, 42,000 followers, and in 365 days, 23 million video views, so the all-time high day of 2.5 million. And if you run these calculations through ChatGPT or whatever, this will show you that this is very valuable content due to the KPIs of share rate, comment rate, engagement rate, etc. And as you can see right here, I posted, as of today, 1,200 times. So I also fed the outputs of what worked and what didn't work into the inputs of the new content I was making, testing literally every individual form of content possible. Until now, I was meeting my heroes, and then my heroes were like following me now. And then I started to realize everyone also is like the same person. And so what you'll see here is also very interesting as well. As a lot of people think TikTok is for short form videos. This is a 25-minute video posted 2 months ago that somehow managed to get 50,000 saves, 15,000 shares, 68,000 comments, with a playtime of probably someone's entire life existence, with 7.5 thousand new followers from a single video, where people think that YouTube is where you post long videos and not TikTok. And TikTok, I proved that a 25-minute TikTok video can go viral if you say the right things, which we'll get into. And so, as you'll see right here as well, TikTok is different because TikTok shows it to 99% of people who don't know you or follow you. So unlike Instagram, Instagram is an echo chamber, which we'll go over here, that's made to make you think your identity is social media, but social media is not social. So TLDR, started my first company with UC's help, selling software to local businesses, hit 10K a month with my in-person company. Realized I was trading time for money with food truck clients. Then everything changed. The moment that everything changed, COVID changed my education dynamics. ChatGPT launched and essentially commoditized information overnight. I dropped out my 3rd year into my finance degree. I went into total isolation and investment into mentors that were above me, and I jumped into the internet full time. The UC Center helped me start, but the internet finished the job. So here's what I had to give up. I had to give up my ego entirely. I had to give up my personal social media. I had to give up posting for the validation of other people. I had to stop caring what my peers thought. And I even had to cook my own dating resume, is what you would call social media. And so the realization 3 years later now from the hero's journey, which I also explained to you guys as a way to communicate in a form of marketing, that obviously you probably just felt emotion from it, which leads into the information I present now. My realization is that society conditions Gen Z to think that the internet is their identity. So I want you guys to raise your hand if you posted on social media this week, any kind of post, all right? So keep your hand up if only you posted for business or professional reasons. So, okay. No Instagram stories personally? Okay. What about you? You didn't post anything, any music on your story, share anything? Yeah?
Yeah, I don't really post on anything.
So you use your Instagram for all business?
Yeah, and it's not mine. It's like
Is it your personal account? Who here has a personal account that is only posting for business and professional reasons? Okay, good. One person, all right? So for those who put their hand down, what did you post? Okay? Who put their hand down? What did you post? What did you post?
Cool picture.
A cool picture? Okay.
A video of me playing the guitar.
Okay.
We posted the Browns winning the football game.
The Browns winning the football game? Okay.
I'd say like something that relates to everyone that applies to my life too.
Okay. Interesting.
Charlie Kirk repost.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so selfies, friend pics, memes, stories that disappear. Okay, now why did you post that? Same people that just said what they posted. Why did you post it?
A lot of the people that I guess follow me or I follow them, like a lot of friends on my social media, we all keep up with the Browns. A lot of us are Browns fans, so
Okay.
conversations.
Okay, to start conversations with other people interested in the same subjects?
Pretty much.
Anyone else? Why did you post what you posted?
Felt like it was worth sharing. I posted probably some design element or a picture I thought was cool, and I probably thought other people would want to see it.
Mm-hmm. So you thought other people would want to see it. Okay. So, to share my life, to stay connected with friends, it was a fun moment. I looked good. I was bored. And then how many times did you check how many likes it got? Okay. So here's the first uncomfortable truth. You think that you're sharing your life, but let's track what actually is happening. You post a photo or video, you check for likes, which is an admission of seeking validation. You get a dopamine hit or anxiety. You delete it if it flops. You learn what works if it works. And then you modify your future behavior in this recursive process. And as you can see here, admission of seeking validation. So what we're realizing now in social media is that you're not actually sharing, you're being trained. Okay, and keep me on this one. Because the algorithm now knows you. Previously, you have a social media feed where you're following people that you know, and you're sharing parts of your life, and people are projecting meaning onto it, hating or loving what they see, and self-selecting their feeds. But the algorithm is now changing. It has AI inside of it. As you'll see, it's trained on you. So when you're sharing the Browns, when you're sharing Charlie Kirk, when you're sharing whatever, these are micro intent signals that build you back in the next scroll now. All right? So for example, and if you wanted to do this, I would ask you to, and I can even do it as well. You pull out your phone right now, and you open up TikTok. Let's see here. And you go to your For You page for 10 seconds. And don't scroll and just look. And you'll see right here, mom is getting older, dad is getting tired. It's now or never, bro. Okay. So what do we see here? So there's a reason that this is on my feed. There's a reason that I don't know this person. There's a reason that this resonates so hard with me, because it's my feed. And it's building me back, and it's triggering my emotions, okay? So, how many of these videos are from people you follow? None. So who decided that you should see this? All of this. Who decided that you should see this? Well, let's put the truth together. So the algorithm tracks every pause, even half a second. Every like, every share, every comment, every profile click, how long you watched it, when you scrolled away, what made you stop scrolling, every like of a comment, and it is training a machine learning algorithm. And this is not, as I said, normal. Well, it's normal today. So what is it doing with this data? The pattern recognition phase. So here is the real metaverse, not the legless avatar metaverse. Whoops. But this is Zuckerberg's actual mission. And this is also every other social media platform what it's turning into. So Facebook has described itself as the most powerful behavioral modification machine in history. The Facebook papers exposed in 2021 that the social media giant was aware its algorithm changes were making users angrier and might even be inciting violence. In 2018, Facebook made a major change to its algorithm, and they stated that their aim was to improve the well-being of users by fostering interactions between friends and families. And so the concern was that users were scrolling rather than engaging, and then this micro intent is fed back to advertisers now. So when you run paid advertising, the data of you and yourself that you are building back by engaging with it is now being sold to companies. So if it knows that some family member just died because it's trained, even though a family member didn't die, on your life and your data and what you're interacting with, it's now feeding you like stories of other people who family members have died. And this is changing your emotions, which change your behavior. So what we realize is that the real metaverse is essentially a digital space that builds you back off of your emotions. And every time that you engage with this social media, it is not social. It is now essentially neuromarketing, all right? And so the algorithm determines this person pauses on relationship content, they're lonely. Success content, they feel unsuccessful. Attractive people, they're insecure about their looks. Comedy, they're avoiding something. The algorithm determines this now. So you have no free thought in a system like this. So here's where projection comes into play, because as humans, we project meaning onto other people and onto forms of language and onto content. So think of the last video that made you stop scrolling, all right? Not just like that kept you scrolling, but made you stop scrolling on your For You page, okay? And now answer honestly, did you see yourself in it? Did you wish that that was your life? Did you judge it, which is still projection? Did you hate on it? Did you argue in the comments of it? Did you share it because it touched your soul? And to show, did you share it to your friends to show you who you are? You did. You shared a form of media to show to your friends who you are, right? Or if someone judges one of the 1,100 posts I made, it is not going to decide my future, which is why I said the ego death. It is still a form of projection that feeds the algorithm that essentially polarizes them to either be in your audience or see more videos of you. So the goal is not to create content for yourself, but to create content for others to see themselves in you and to tell their own story, which I call T-Swifting, because Taylor Swift, she doesn't sell music, she sells mirrors, and essentially it allows you to create your own story in her art because it relates to you, right? So that is what this part's about. And so it wasn't content that you're seeing, it is now a literal mirror. It is a mirror that builds you back, all right? And so here's the identity loop. So this is what's actually happening. 1, you seek validation, so you scroll. Number 2, the algorithm learns what you're seeking. 3, it shows you others that are seeking the same thing. 4, you consume their success. 5, you feel inadequate. 6, you modify your post or your own forms of content or the style of content you're engaging with to match this level of inadequacy that you feel through this system that builds you back. And now you become the algorithm's version of you, not even your own version of you. You actually become the algorithm's version of you. And so here's the uncomfortable question. Raise your hand if you've ever deleted a post because it didn't get enough likes, right? I haven't since 1,000 whatever raise your hand if you ever posted at a time that you thought was the best because it was going to get more engagement, or you used certain hashtags that you learned work, or you copied a trend that you saw working, or felt bad when someone similar to you got more likes. Well, congratulations, you're not a person online, you're a product now being optimized. But even more interesting is where we now introduce machine learning. As we said, this is changing in the intelligence of AI. No longer, like some people say, I'm using AI, you're using ChatGPT, but now if AI is using you. If you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram, AI is using you. So when you add AI into the conversation, and you start to understand how culture is created through words and videos that humans project meaning onto, combined with the algorithm. So here's Meta's brand new discovery as of a few months ago, brain signal mapping. Meta has able to show a 80% accuracy on predicting emotional responses from your brain signals while watching content, okay? Without even attaching anything to your head, which is crazy. And this is a large language model, AI. And so this is the past form of media we had. You have a writer who creates a script, and you pick an actor who acts that script out. You watch this movie or content, and then you feel things. But the new paradigm is going to be that your brain signals intent, identity, or answers. AI maps patterns. AI uses your own brain signals and patterns to write the script of the content or the movie, and then uses AI to generate it. And then at this point, when you watch it and project meaning onto it, you are actually watching yourself. And then because it is triggering emotions in you, and every scroll builds you back, or these new forms of media are created through your emotional responses, you end up becoming a victim to the system and becoming the byproduct of what you consume. So the new world is literally going to be your brain signals matching in an algorithm and then writing the script of the content or the movie, generating it, you watching it, and becoming it, which is scary. And so someone tell me, what is the difference between a cult that tells you what to think, and B, an algorithm that shows you what to think based on what you already thought? A cult that tells you what to think versus an algorithm on your phone that is showing you what to think based off of what you already thought. Hopefully that makes sense. Well, the algorithm is more effective because you think that it's your choice. So here's the creator test. Why do some people have 200,000 followers and others have 200? It's because people with 200,000 followers became better mirrors, okay? They stopped being themselves, and they created what I call surfaces for projection of meaning. And they let others see themselves through their content. They realized that the internet is not their true identity, and that you are not making content for your own validation or your own approval or to conform to perceptions of reactions, but instead the algorithm is now, as we saw with my TikTok and your TikToks, it's building you back off of your emotions, intent, and identity. So in a society like this, you are actually no longer creating content to prove things to people or to show your success. You're actually doing it with the sole goal of engineering a surface in which one can see themselves in. And you can do this through language. You can do this through sounds and music, as that one video said. And you can do this through aesthetics. And you can do this through essentially feeding the outputs of your content, whether good or bad, back into the next piece of material. Because TikTok's already doing this. So everything on your For You page, as we said, is not someone necessarily you know, it's something that you relate to. You have a question, Jaden?
Yeah, I was going to ask, so it seems like really influential stuff you're talking about, and a lot of people, like you're hinting at, are using it for the negative. Do you have thoughts on how personally we can like kind of fight back against it and use it to better ourselves instead of being influenced by people trying to be mirrors?
Yeah, well, it's not that it is bad, because of the fact that you are giving one the gift of self-perception. It is only bad if the intention is to extract. But if it is to help somebody see themselves, then it's actually the gift of self-perception and an algorithm that is showing you the most optimized version of yourself. So if you can understand how to authentically express yourself in a way that's engineered for one to see themselves in you, because even here right now, you guys do not see me or know me necessarily. Through this presentation, you see yourself in interpreting this message back into your own life as a mirror in its own. So I engineered this for the gift of self-perception, not to essentially manipulate, but to create the most optimized form of expressing my value in a way that resonated the hardest. So that is a great question, because how do you survive as a human in a economy online that optimizes for language and pattern matching? Because if you speak, raw thoughts, etc., it comes down to the words that you use that then go into the algorithm that then pattern match it to the people seeking identity in that thing. So it's actually a new form of like copywriting or curation of language. So as we said, it's not necessarily manipulation to create content. I was telling Ben that if you want to create amazing content for the entrepreneurship program, you do it from an egoless state of expressing essentially how the vibes or certain success or language, like not to say, come to the entrepreneurship program, we're doing this, but to create a surface in this algorithm that one will be like, I want to go, I see myself in the entrepreneurship program. I see myself in the way that they are communicating what's happening at the entrepreneurship program, even if it's down to no words, but people just having fun and dancing to music, right? Because it's a reflection of, wow, I can be myself at the entrepreneurship program because they are having fun. You see yourself in the content, and it's not a form of manipulation. It's actually a form of the gift of self-perception through engineering in an algorithm that optimizes for language. And so this is what I call the ego death requirement. This is why I had to give up my personal Instagram. Because, and when I say be yourself, it's subject to whatever way you want to interpret it, but as I was saying, social media now is no longer necessarily social. So you can't necessarily be yourself and post football on your story and express certain music that you like and post photos of yourself for the validation of others as at least an entrepreneur if you're like trying to monetize it and be successful online. So you must choose to be a person that is essentially a byproduct now of training data that then creates you a victim of this system of scrolling on the internet and seeking validation. This type of person who makes a piece of content like, hey, I just made $30,000 this month and I just bought X, Y, and Z, like that is about me, that is not about the other person. So instead, you must choose, if you want to win in the digital future, to be or create content that acts as a mirror for others to see themselves in, because it pattern matches into a subset of people that are, like, if you look behind the scenes of what actually is happening with Meta in the brain mapping, like, you are essentially becoming the content you consume now. And you as a human creating content are fighting against optimization of language. So yeah, it matters about the engineering behind the way that you create the content for an individual to see themselves in it rather than seeking external validation from the world. And that's why you get hate comments, you get whatever, and you realize that those are actually just projections of meaning onto your content, and that those are going to be either used later on to improve your content or to self-select your audience as the survivors of it. So most people, though, would rather stay consumers than stop being themselves in a machine optimized to show you yourself. So I believe in the future that being yourself has nothing to do with the internet, but communities like this, sharing experiences, being in front of each other, building real relationships. But the internet is now a machine, or at least social media, is a machine optimized to show you yourself now. Which is why most people, though, would rather be the consumer of my content rather than like creating the content that I create. And so let's design a viral post together. Somebody give me a topic.
Who here has a small business that they currently run or are trying to run?
I'm starting a social media management software called Qden. It uses AI and influencer marketing to you can plan social media posts in about 5 social networks, but also a company called Beery Clothing. It's a mix of streetwear and high fashion artwear.
Let's go with that.
Streetwear and streetwear?
Streetwear.
And I'll show you it.
Okay.
All right, follow it. Yori?
B-U-R-I.
Okay. So streetwear. So let's take, because my example here was like workout routine, but streetwear. Here's my streetwear clothing, 100 views. Option A, like personal, like what old social media used to be. Option B, mirror, would be, you're not fat or skinny, you're just not wearing clothes that fit you perfectly and your frame enough in order for people to understand what you actually look like, right? So the difference is, here is my clothing and how I made it and why you should buy it, versus your clothing doesn't fit you, it's just that it's not sized correctly, and once it's sized correctly, people will start to actually understand the real way that you look like and how you express yourself. Right? So the difference is this gets 100 views and this gets 10,000 plus views, because this is optimized for you to see yourself in it, in an algorithm that we just showed on your For You page that is building you back, because it is AI now. And it's pattern matching your text messages. If you say allow all apps, it's pattern matching your micro intent signals. Who knows what it's recording? It's not just if someone likes it and shares it, it goes out. It's a form of one to see themselves in the form of media, no matter if it's for him, a clothing brand, or for me, scaling your business online with technology. The idea here is that this gives the gift of self-perception and is not manipulation. So why does B work? Because it's not about me, it's about you seeing yourself. So now let's get into AI and ChatGPT disruption. So in November 2022, around the same time I dropped out, changed everything. Before, I know things equaled that you were valuable. After 2022, AI knows everything. Knowledge is now free. So what is still valuable? Creating content as a projection surface, triggering emotional responses for the gift of self-perception. Right here, this will get really interesting. Creating identity containers, which are ways of compressing your brand into text that is applied to an AI model that generates output exactly like this presentation. Okay, so it's trained on every individual part in context of my life and applied as a lens to a model that is now creating language that you are now seeing yourself in. So you can create identity containers or brand containers, compressing your overall strategy, goal, personality, what you want people to see into context that then you can engineer a language with, that then you can then speak or you can post. okay? And this means that you can actually manufacture culture now, because what we're seeing on social media, even with like the impact of trauma across the board in an AI algorithm optimized to yourself, now you have people arguing over different narratives in an echo chamber that's then matching you back with those people. And now culture is essentially at its highest form when this media is being presented to you at scale. The language itself manufactures the reaction of the culture. We saw with Sydney Sweeney and the campaign she did that was really controversial. But their stock went up $300 million in valuation in 2 weeks because they were optimizing for a specific form of what you would call polarization, to where they're manufacturing culture through words and language. But the whole thing now is that ChatGPT or these AIs are language models. So you can now engineer language that on these platforms, when applied at scale, creates culture. Like the one video I showed you that has 1 million views, that's a 25-minute video. What do I mean by it created culture? Others started making videos about quantum mirror. And then when you search up quantum mirror, a bunch of other people talking about how this video changed their life, etc. And all the attribution, all the tracking goes back to my account. Now people are starting to say quantum mirroring or quantum mirror, etc. on TikTok. And it all goes back, the attribution, to my page. And at some form of this creation of culture was the word that I used to describe the asset I was showing. Kind of like at the beginning of this, it said social media is not social anymore. I called a certain mechanism of using AI a quantum mirror. And the output of it was that culture was actually engineered. And so what we're seeing on these social media platforms, at least in the future, is that subject matter expertise is dead and that identity architecture is everything. Whether it's your own identity or architecting the identities of those who are going to be your ideal client profile or are going to be having emotions to your forms of content that they see themselves in. So if you can engineer language that, if you can control how others see themselves, then you control the world, right? And like we said, it's at this point, it relies on intent. You could do this with bad intent, or you could do this with good intent. So in a world of AI providing real-time information, and even when you aren't even using ChatGPT, but you go onto TikTok and you search something, and AI is now showing you the recursive outputs of your emotional reactions. TikTok itself is an identity architecture. So if you reverse engineer it, then it gives you the power to engineer culture in a sense. And I know this is kind of really advanced, but this is being recorded, and I'll also share this with you guys after. And so here's the final realization. Look around this room. How many of you came to UC to learn digital marketing and have been learning tactics of marketing from 2015? Unfortunately, the world has moved to psychological warfare, and some are still making Facebook ads. And once again, I just present this as an idea for you to think about from all the information I presented today, because as someone who has gone through this entire process and has also been a victim of this process and has engineered processes like this, the unfortunate truth is that the world, at least the internet, is now psychological warfare. Who feels scammed? Right? Well, here's the challenge. You guys can do this right now or after, but I'll give you 60 seconds or after this. Pull out your phone and create a piece of content that is not about you. Make it and engineer it about your ideal client profile or the ideal viewer, pain, dream, or fear or emotional reaction, because the algorithms enable this. You can no longer create a piece of content that has meaning projected onto it at scale if the algorithm is a machine that optimizes for language. So what you'll find is that if you create a piece of content that is not about you, nor the outputs of it are related to you at all, then perception of others is now a variable in engineering culture, or engineering conversions, or engineering perception. So if you make it about the viewer's pain, dream, or fear, then and you use either music, language, or a form of authentic self-expression to communicate the viewer's pain, dream, or fear, then watch what happens to the engagement. A 25-minute video on TikTok, which is supposed to only show 60-second videos to people, will get 1 million views and will engineer culture overnight. And so what is my reality now? Because obviously I've gone through this rabbit hole. And what happens is 200,000 loyal followers and audience that run to scream first on your posts, thousands of DMs that you can't even answer yourself anymore, opportunities which you used to just, one by one, they just come into your life and you choose, are now too many that you essentially have to hire or outsource that work to. You're making $50,000 a month with 4 hours of work daily with complete location freedom. And the interesting part is that nobody knows me. They just know themselves in the past versions of me that triggered emotion in them. But here's what I gave up. I gave up my digital identity, my personal life online, my ego completely, and the illusion of authenticity. I became a business, and business is good. So here's the final question. Turn to the next person, or person next to you right now, and tell them the real reason that you're afraid to post content for business. Now realize that the fear is your ego protecting itself. Your ego knows that to succeed online, it must die. Unfortunately, this is the truth. Because when you are engineering reflection services for others to project meaning onto in a system that now builds them back, that leads to their consumer behavior, any form of posting content with the intention of to inflate your ego is the polar opposite of what this is now. The goal is to inflate others' ego, even if it means losing yours. And I've tested this with dancing and talking about AI. And they didn't see AI, they saw confidence they wanted. I tested this with, let's say, what else did I test this with? I even tested this with like kind of rage baiting. Have you ever heard of rage baiting? And it caused reactions in others that has nothing to do with me, but everything to do with them, because they are projecting meaning onto a form of content that is now in a system that builds them back. So even your failures of perfectionism are outputs that you feed back into the next piece of content. It has nothing to do with you. It's actually the fastest way to success is more shots on goal, because the fact, even as you see, you could do the best things in the world, and when you die from a public execution, people will still slander your name on the internet. You could be the best person in the world. You could say whatever you want, and when you die, people will still say whatever and project whatever meaning they want onto your content in this digital identity that we all have. So what is that we realize through this of why you're afraid? Well, it's because it's your ego protecting itself, but your ego knows that to succeed online, it must die, as you saw from my hero's journey. So the question isn't if you'll do it, the question is when you'll be smart enough to break the simulation. Because this is actually now not what we're living in here, but the internet is now a simulation.